Romit, there's concern that she's not going to push back on Elon. She's been on the board for several years, and what he needs is somebody who will challenge him. What's your take?
I mean, I think, as far as like Elon's behavior goes, he's really the only one who has control over that. Having said that, I mean, Robyn on paper looks like a solid pick. CFO. It sounds like this is a permanent role for her. So this is not a temporary chairmanship role. I think we'll probably see corporate governance improve. One area that I would like to see them improve is on their guidance practices, and hopefully with her in place, that happens.
Max, is it a permanent role, or will she hold this chairperson position just for the 3 years that Elon Musk has agreed with the SEC that he won't be in that job?
Well, no way of knowing. I mean, I think the bottom line is this is still Elon Musk's company. It would be very hard. It will be hard for even the most independent of chairperson to completely get him in line, because part of sort of what makes Tesla successful, what has made him successful, is the fact that he's sort of willing to sometimes break with the norms. So we don't know. I think in terms of if you were worried about him putting like a close friend on the board or somebody who really have no shot of calling him out at times, then this is probably a pretty good choice. It definitely could have been somebody much closer to him than this. So in that sense, it's probably good news for investors.
I do want to take a look at the chart here in my GTV library showing Tesla's short interest. Over a quarter of shares have been borrowed to bet against the company. We know that this has been a pain point for Musk. He is not particularly fond of short sellers. Romit, do you think the short interest against Tesla will continue?
I think it's got to come down, especially after this print where, they generated a substantial profit in the quarter. Elon's behavior, I mean, to his credit, I think has been noticeably better since, they finished, the SEC investigation was completed and he paid his fine. Robyn, who comes from Telstra, I think it is a permanent job. I mean, why else would you give up, a role as CFO to be the chairwoman for Tesla? So I think this goes beyond 3 years, and so to me, it feels like the company's on the right track, and hopefully it continues.
So, Max, what else are we watching? Musk has said the company will be cash flow positive for every quarter to come, but it's certainly not going to be easy. He's talked about the workload. He's talked about the pressure. Is the pace that they're producing cars now, is that sustainable, without those feelings of sort of constant pressure and stress and strain on not just him, but the people who work at the company?
I mean, it seems like that things are improving. I mean, I don't think they're if you look at the numbers, I mean, they're not maybe quite as high as Tesla had wanted them to be, but it does feel like they've reached some kind of sustainable pace where they're manufacturing a lot of cars. The cost-cutting measures seem to have worked. I mean, the thing we don't know is, number one, what does demand look like, in the long run, and also, what does the sort of cost picture really look like long term? They seem to be kind of pulling out all the stops, both to try to generate a lot of demand, but also in terms of cutting unnecessary expenses. And the thing about a company like Tesla is it's not just selling this Model 3. It wants to develop a whole pipeline of cars, including a small SUV. So at some point it needs to start spending money and probably start borrowing money. And I think the goal here is to just put it in the best cash position so that if it does have to borrow money, it's going to get preferable terms.
Romit, what is your estimation of the longer-term demand and the longer-term cost picture?
I think the sky's the limit for the company. I mean, today they're run rating at about 350,000 cars per year. The market opportunity is 100 million units. Now you could say, well, it's a luxury car maker, but even then, Tesla is just a small fraction of a 10 million unit luxury car market. They've taken a tremendous amount of market share from some very solid car companies this year in Model 3. In fact, the share gains that they've shown in Model 3 so far mirror what they've been able to do with their premium sedan, the Model S. And they have, for a company that has done so well, they're just going to start selling their Model 3 in Europe and in China. All of that's in front. And so I think there's a tremendous amount of room for the company to grow. And the question mark has always been around management and their ability to do better than what they say and limit the volatility in the stock. And it's been a tumultuous couple of quarters, but it seems like in the last month things have started to really improve for them on all fronts. So I'm optimistic.
There is competition, though, Romit. Other automakers are wising up and making alternatives to what Tesla is offering. He recently told Recode that he thinks Tesla will always be ahead in self-driving because it's a software problem and not a hardware problem. But would you agree that Tesla will always be ahead, or do they have to worry and think about the competition?
I think people take competition. They make a bigger deal of that than they should. I mean, look at Apple, who has had so much success with the iPhone. Apple is not the market share leader in smartphones. Samsung is. But Apple has been able to generate tremendous amount of value for their shareholders by being, by providing the best smartphone on the market. If Tesla can scale to 2 to 3 million electric vehicles per year, they probably won't be the market share leader in the long run. But I'm pretty sure that the stock and the value of the company will be significantly higher if they can get to that. I think what's important is, what kind of profit can they generate for every vehicle they sold? And what we saw this last quarter is that the margin potential for the company, the margins for the company were a lot better than people realized. And if they can scale further, it's likely that the margins and the profits and the cash flow of the company are only going to get better.